If you are no stranger to the anime community, you are very used to this strange, almost unique idea to the medium where anime fans will humanize studios. They will be infantilized, praised for the good products they put out, defended when push comes to shove, but at the same time, when the product drops the ball, they will circumvent criticizing the company to instead attack the staff. What we're seeing with Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 is the exact same kind of behavior. Posts upon posts about how MAPPA cooked, or MAPPA is serving us a delicious meal, praising the company itself rather than being appreciative of the staff members' individual work. Of course, it's not entirely fair to impugn everyone who does that, because not everyone knows the staff list of an anime episode. Not everyone can tell who did what cut based on style, but the broader point that I'm painting here is that MAPPA does not deserve even a drop of praise. For those unfamiliar, the people themselves that work on this anime are not actually given the option to judge how long they will work on this stuff. Usually it's the production committee, in order of most invested to least. In this case, MAPPA, the company, has clearly bitten off far more than they can chew. And to prove that, look no further than the production pipeline of Hell's Paradise and Jujutsu Kaisen. As Hell's Paradise was in production, JJK was dropping its Season 2 trailer, and even before Hell's Paradise even launched, people were skeptical of the workload MAPPA was handing off to its staff. Make no mistake, Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 looks amazing, and to me it's a notable step up from Season 1, but what is that coming at the cost of? A letter from a 32-year-old man who lives in Tokyo and works on the anime would lament that the amount of time spent on prep work would end up eating all the time they have to do actual work, to make these scenes as great as they would hope, and to make matters worse, he would end up blaming himself for this rather than attribute it to MAPPA's poor handling of the series. And that's exactly what MAPPA and the production committee want these people to do. Workers will blame themselves for not meeting these impossible deadlines, and people on Twitter will support the studio to the very end. They effectively have total control over the narrative of their own company. As more and more animators come out, like this animator who would come out and say that for the cut they were responsible for, they had less than 12 hours. Or this one, who would end up denying work for the series because the deadline they were offered was just not at all realistic. Just today, at the time of recording, the director of this week's JJK episode, who would unironically have a meltdown on Twitter due to the schedule catching up to them this episode. He would repeatedly apologize for wrongdoing that he ascribed to himself, saying he has done a job that no one would appreciate, calling himself a coward, saying he got everything dirty. Quote, "Everyone is not trash like me, so I know that everyone's sympathy and encouragement must be from the bottom of their heart, but right after releasing something that I'm not satisfied with, that kind of thing will have the opposite effect, so for now, I just want you to leave me alone. I'll make up for it in my future work. Until then, I will live my life as the worst animator who has ruined a masterpiece." End quote. The lack of time to actually finish anything slowly shows up more and more as time goes on, and JJK's episode ending up with a whopping 80-second key animators. These are animators that clean up the appearance of work that is unpolished, or as Sakuga Blog puts it, flat out unfinished. As mentioned earlier, there was so much time spent in the planning stages, and so little time allotted to actually making the fucking anime, that MAPPA regularly throws out these unfinished cuts to anybody who can take them to clean up the sloppy work. The company has also been regularly criticized, for years, over low pay, by industry veterans like Hisashi Iguchi, who stated that he was paid only half the amount he was promised for another project, or in instances like Ippei Ichi, who claimed that under Netflix, MAPPA was suggesting a pay of just $25 per cut, and claimed that the minimum cost animators should be negotiating for is $100. Noticed a couple of months ago, MAPPA had a significant increase in its standard salary, a monthly wage of $1,500 USD. You might be thinking, hey, that doesn't sound that good, and you would be correct. Especially when you take into account that somehow, this is high for the industry. MAPPA may have one of the highest wages in the industry, but that doesn't look so appealing when you take into account the amount of work and the factory-like conditions of the studio, or when you take into account how much more expensive Tokyo is compared to the rest of Japan. Conditions have always been bad at MAPPA, and they have always desperately attempted to get out a counter-narrative. This time, they didn't even bother getting ahead of the bad press, threatening directors and animators into signing non-disclosure agreements to prevent them from talking about JJK's production. This isn't just scummy. This is downright evil. It's a common tactic that was largely successful for a majority of the United States' lifetime. If you can stigmatize the concept of talking about pay or working conditions, you can successfully control the narrative. You can successfully control your employees, and you can successfully control their income, getting away with paying dirt-tier wages. The NDA is a ploy for MAPPA to keep their power because when people start talking about their experiences at these companies, workers get stronger. While animators attack themselves for MAPPA's wrongdoing, and the company holds a tight leash on people trying to talk about their experiences, they have a flock of basement-dwelling turbo nerds defending them at every beck and call. on posts discussing the validity of animators' claims or even of animators themselves, you will find people saying MAPPA hate is forced and cringe, or people glad that an animator declined a job because their work wasn't good enough. The company has dick writers all over the internet that will do their best to belittle and stamp out these kinds of conversations for free. They aren't even on payroll. Now, of course, these people don't make up the whole, but they are definitely a powerful counter-narrative force that do stamp out important conversations about this kind of stuff. And what is the common thought about modern-day anime? Should we decrease the amount of production to take the weight off the staff's shoulders? No. Should we increase pay from wages that can barely sustain these people living in Tokyo? No. I know what we should do. AI. For those somehow unfamiliar, artificial intelligence has been a growing point of concern for creatives. What someone can spend months doing, a well-trained AI can do in a matter of minutes to hours. Some people argue that utilizing AI can streamline anime production, especially with growing concerns of deadlines that can't be met, as evidenced by Jujutsu Kaisen. And I certainly do believe that AI could have a place as a tool in some industries, but technology doesn't solve every issue. In May of 2023, AI had already eliminated nearly 4,000 jobs, making it the 7th highest contributor to employment losses in the United States that month. CBS reported that the jobs cut come as businesses waste no time adopting advanced AI technology to automate a range of tasks, including creative work, such as writing, as well as administrative and clerical work. Goldman Sachs predicts 300 million jobs will be lost or degraded by artificial intelligence. Netflix had already started to incorporate AI into its anime, creating a short film and utilizing it to create the background images. Netflix would claim that, quote, due to a labor shortage, they would utilize AI to generate these images, and also credit the human being who helped the AI make intelligible shots by crediting the AI plus human. There is growing concern that people will be losing work as AI gets more and more advanced. A lot of people expressing concern over automation of jobs are being compared to 19th century Luddites, English textile workers who were opposed to the use of certain types of cost-saving machinery. In the end, one could argue that they were primarily driven by self-interest rather than a broader ideology. Technology can be a great tool, however, the movement has been forced down our throats as this new paradigm you have to get on board with, and heralded as things like a lawyer replacement service, which didn't turn out too well when it was actually used in court. A persistent issue we encounter with tech is that it doesn't inherently provide any meaning to someone's life. Meaning can, however, be derived from art or social interactions or other human experiences. It would be naive of me to claim that technology cannot help our lives in any way, but the problem arises when people attempt to solve fundamental issues with technological solutions. In fact, technology can even diminish meaning in our lives, as it regularly messes with our dopamine or neural reward systems, diverting people from meaningful social connections. Ultimately, AI will not be fixing the underlying problems of our economic system. Instead, new technology tends to reinforce existing biases. Between 50 to 70% of changes in the US wage structure over the last 4 decades are accounted for by the relative wage declines of worker groups specialized in routine tasks in industries experiencing rapid automation. Job automation is a huge factor in the increasing income inequality of the world. In a perfect utopia where if you lost your job to a robot, you wouldn't eventually be evicted and die of starvation, I might be more open to the concept of AI being integrated into the workflow, but as it stands now, we do not live in a utopia. For a lot of these people who posit AI as a glimmer of hope in these creative industries, you have to realize something. Technology alone will not resolve the ongoing social issues. What about the present implementation of tech in our lives fosters the belief in a utopian outcome? What about the internet instills hope that it will address these challenges? Almost every facet of technological development within our broader social context seems to be heading towards authoritarianism, consolidation, misinformation, and short-term corporate interest. The world has an abundance of food, wealth, and resources. The reason we don't effectively distribute them is because the systems governing production and allocation are controlled by individuals with differing interests. AI will not alter this fundamental dynamic. While tech can certainly optimize processes that lead to increased corporate profits, it doesn't translate into efficient public services. AI will only be another cudgel used to increase profits rather than improve lives. What anime needs are answers to these fundamental problems. What anime needs to protect themselves from ever-growing concerns of automation making them homeless, lower than average pay, and back-breaking working hours is collective bargaining. However, as Sugawara from the Animator Dormitory Project states, a lot of animators are afraid to work with unions because they are afraid that they'll lose their jobs. In Japan there is a saying, quote, "The nail that sticks out is hammered down." If these people open up and talk about their work environments, much like the MAPPA animators are currently doing, they risk not just their current work, but any and all future work. Even more unfortunately, animation companies also enjoy subverting the law entirely. Under Japan's Labor Standards Act, Workers do have some worker protections and will work with these employees to get what they deserve. However, to get around this, animation studios will hire employees under an outsourcing contract. Outsourced employees are covered under civil law rather than the Labor Standards Act, completely circumventing these labor protections. They are effectively employees of these companies, but do not get the legal protections of your actual employees. Something needs to be done. I hope that Japan looks at the United States, having the closest we will get to a modern-day New Deal, as industries all around the nation strike for better treatment, protections, and pay. And I hope that Japan push towards breaking the chains of that toxic work culture, and finally get what they deserve. If you're an animator in Japan who is somehow watching this video and would like to have your story heard, please feel free to contact me using my business email in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe for the funny YouTube algorithm. You can also become a YouTube member, which gives you access to behind-the-scenes content, a badge on comments and livestream chats, as well as the use of emotes and videos before their actual release. You can also check the description for socials like Twitter, where I'm objectively correct all the time, and Discord, where we talk about ReZero, My Hero Academia, Jujutsu Kaisen, and stuff like that. That's about it though. Thank you for watching. See ya.